You have brought shame to my name. Of all the men in this village, this is who you chose. That old man. Disgrace. A man older than your own father. Answer me for what you have done. You are no longer my daughter.
He thought she had sold herself for money, but the real truth behind that marriage would break him.
You're watching African Stories That Touch.
Many years ago, in a village where people woke with the sun and slept with stories, there lived a man whose name carried respect. Not because he was rich, but because he was known for one thing: truth. If he spoke, people listened. If he handled your money, you slept peacefully. That was the kind of man he was. And in that same village, there was someone he loved more than his own life: his daughter, Olivia. If she laughed, he forgot his worries. If she was silent, he would ask, "Who offended my child?" That was their bond. The kind people admired and quietly prayed for. But one morning, something happened that would destroy everything she held dear. While she was washing plates at the backyard, she heard voices, loud, angry, and unfamiliar voices calling her father's name. Olivia abandoned what she was doing and rushed to the front of the house. By the time she stepped outside, what she saw made her heart drop. Her father was standing in the middle of a crowd, confused and surrounded. "Where is the money?" one of them shouted. "Tell us what you did with it," another barked. Her father shook his head. "I don't understand." But they didn't listen. They didn't want to. Before she could reach him, they grabbed him, roughly, like a man who had already been judged. "Papa!" she screamed, but her voice was swallowed by the noise of the crowd. And in that moment, something began. Something that would lead her to the man she now stood beside. The same man everyone was laughing at. That night, the village did not sleep early. Groups gathered in corners, voices dropped to whispers, eyes shifted whenever she passed. "Did you hear? They say he stole money from the office. Ah, so even him." She heard everything. Every word, every doubt. But she said nothing. That night, their house felt different. Too quiet, too empty. His wrapper still hung where he left it. His cup still sat on the table. But the man who filled that house with laughter was gone. She sat on the floor, waiting, as if waiting could bring him back. But morning came. And with it, the truth. He was not coming home. Days passed. Then more days. She went from one person to another. Men her father once helped, friends who used to greet him with respect. But now, they avoided her eyes, spoke in half sentences, or simply said, "It is not our problem." That was when she understood something. In this world, respect can disappear overnight, and help only comes when there is something to gain.
It was an old woman who finally spoke to her, quietly, as if the wind itself was listening. "There is someone," she said. She paused, looked around, then lowered her voice even more. "A man. People don't go to him unless they have no other choice." The girl frowned. "Who is he?" The woman did not answer immediately. Instead, she asked a question. "Are you ready to do what others cannot?" Silence. Because deep down, she already knew. This was not going to be simple. That night, sleep did not come. She lay awake, staring into the darkness, thinking of her father, his voice, his laughter, the way he called her name. And then, she made up her mind. Before the first cock crowed, she was already on her feet, walking. Not towards the market, not towards the river, but towards a part of the village people avoided. The air there felt different, heavier and quieter. Even the wind seemed to move with caution. After a long walk, she finally saw it. a house, standing alone. She stopped for a moment because something inside her told her to turn back. But she didn't. She stepped forward, and before she could knock, the door opened. Slowly. She froze. Not because she wanted to run, but because something about the man standing there made movement feel like a mistake. He was old, not just in age, but in presence. His eyes were sharp, too sharp, like a man who had seen too much and forgotten how to look away. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, "You came," he said, with a calm and certain voice, as if he had been expecting her. She swallowed. I need your help." He stepped aside. Without a word, she entered. The room was dim. Not dark, but not welcoming either. Everything inside felt arranged. Too neat. Too quiet. He closed the door behind her. The sound echoed. Her heart skipped. "Sit," he said. She didn't argue, didn't hesitate. She sat. And then she told him everything. Her father, the accusation, the arrest, the silence from people who once cared. She spoke quickly at first, then slower. Then her voice began to shake. But he didn't interrupt. Not once. He just watched her. When she finished, the room went quiet again. Too quiet. Then he leaned back slightly. "I know Ben, your father," he said slowly. "He is not the kind of man who steals." Her eyes lifted. Hope flickered once again. "You believe me?" He didn't answer that. Instead, he smiled. Not a kind smile, not a cruel one either. "I can bring him out," he said. Her breath caught. "Before the next market day, he will be free," he said again. She leaned forward. Hope rushed in so fast. It almost felt like pain. "Thank you," she began, but he raised his hand, stopping her. "I did not say it would be free." The air changed. Her body stiffened. Because deep down, she already knew. Nothing like this comes without a price. "What do you want?" This time, he didn't answer immediately. He stood up, walked slowly around her, as if measuring something. Then he stopped, right in front of her, and looked straight into her eyes. "I want..." He paused, long enough for her heart to begin pounding. "You." There was silence. She understood. Immediately. Her fingers tightened. "You will marry me," he said calmly. The words landed heavily, like something that could not be taken back. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. Her father's face flashed in her mind, behind bars, alone. Then her own future disappearing. And in that moment, she realized something. This was not a choice. It was a sacrifice. The kind no one would understand. The kind that would make the world hate her while saving the only person she could not afford to lose. Slowly, she lifted her head and said, "Yes." The next market day came, just like he said it would. The sun rose like every other day. People gathered at the market. Life moved on as if nothing had happened. But in the prison, something changed. Her father was called out. At first, he thought it was a mistake. "Come," one of the guards said. "No questions, just come." The chains were removed, the door opened, and just like that, the man who had been thrown away like a criminal walked out. Confusion followed him because in his mind, nothing had been solved. Who did this? He kept asking, but no one answered. Until he stepped outside and saw her, standing there, waiting. For a moment, everything else faded. My daughter! He rushed forward, pulled her into his arms, held her tightly, like someone who had just been given a second life. You came for me, he whispered. I knew you wouldn't leave me. She closed her eyes, just for a second, holding on to that moment, because she knew it would not last. Let's go home, he said. But she didn't move. He pulled back, looked at her properly. That was when he noticed it. The old man standing there like he belonged, like everything had already been decided. The air shifted. Her father's face hardened. What is this? No one answered. His eyes moved from the man to his daughter, then back again. And in that moment, something dangerous began to form in his mind. Explain, he said. His voice was no longer soft, no longer grateful. It was now sharp and demanding. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Because how do you explain a sacrifice that sounds like betrayal?
The old man stepped forward, calm and unbothered. There is nothing to explain, he said. Silence. Then, she is my wife. The world stopped. Her father blinked. Once, twice, as if his ears had betrayed him. What? She agreed to marry me, the old man continued. She belongs to me now. That was when it broke. Not slowly, not quietly, violently. You have brought shame to my name. His voice exploded into the air. People turned, heads lifted. The village began to gather. Her father pointed at her with trembling hands, his chest rising and falling, his eyes filled with something deeper than anger. Betrayal. A young girl, he shouted, throwing herself at a man older than her father. Murmurs began to spread like fire. Ah, she sold herself, someone whispered. For money, another added. Olivia stood there silent, just like before, because the truth was not something she could say out loud, not without destroying everything she had just saved. And as the laughter grew louder, as the shame wrapped around her like a shadow, her father turned away. For what you have done, you are no longer my daughter, he said. And this time, he meant it. The laughter followed her, even after she left the place. Mocking whispers continued. She chose money over her father. Shameless girl. Look at the man she married. Each word landed deep in her chest. But she didn't react. She just walked. Beside him. The same man they all feared. Yet none of them truly understood. They reached his house before sunset. He opened the door, let her in. No celebration, no welcome, no warmth. Just quiet. You will not leave this house without my permission, he said calmly, like someone stating a simple rule. She nodded, not because she was afraid, but because she had already given up her freedom the moment she said yes. Days passed, then weeks, and slowly the village forgot her, or at least pretended to. But something strange began to happen. Her father was not himself anymore. At first it was small things. He would stop mid-sentence, forget what he was saying, sit alone for hours staring into nothing. Then came the nights. Sleep refused to come. He would wake up suddenly, breathing heavily, as if he had just seen something terrible. One night, he called her name, not once, not twice, over and over again. But there was no answer, because the daughter he called for was gone. And for the first time, doubt crept in. What if, he muttered to himself one evening, what if I was wrong? But pride is a dangerous thing. It does not allow questions to grow. It silences them. So he buried the thought until the day everything came back. He had gone to the same office, the same place where his life was destroyed. Not to work, not to stay, just to understand what truly happened. And that was when he heard it. Two men talking and laughing carelessly. One said, "They pinned it on him perfectly." The other replied, "No one even questioned it." Ben froze. His heart began to pound.
What money? The first man continued. That money was already gone before he even stepped into the office day. There was silence. Then laughter, cold and heartless. And in that moment, everything shattered. Not just the lie, but the truth. Because suddenly, everything began to make sense. The sudden help, the timing, the silence from everyone. His daughter, the way she stood that day, silent, not defending herself. Not because she was guilty, but because she was protecting something or someone. His knees weakened because the truth came all at once, heavy, painful, and unforgiving. She didn't betray me. His voice broke. She saved me. And in that moment, the shame he had thrown at her returned to him, 10 times heavier. And now there was only one question left. Was it already too late to get his daughter back? He didn't wait. The moment he heard the truth, he ran without thinking or stopping. He ran past the market, past the fields, ignoring the voices calling after him, because now there was only one thing on his mind: his daughter. By the time he reached the house, the sun was already setting. The same house people avoided, the same house he once looked at with anger. Now he approached it like a man carrying his last chance. His hand trembled as he knocked once. There was silence. Then the door opened, slowly, and there she was, his daughter, standing in front of him. For a moment, neither of them spoke, because some moments are too heavy for words. Then he fell, not to his knees out of weakness, but out of regret. "I was wrong." His voice cracked. "I was blind. I should have listened to you." Tears streamed down his face. "You gave up your life for me." He shook his head, as if trying to undo the past. "And I threw you away." There was silence, the kind that carries pain. Then, slowly, she stepped forward. "Papa." Her voice was soft. The same voice that once filled their home with laughter. He looked up, eyes red and broken. "Can you forgive me?" The question hung in the air. She didn't answer immediately, because forgiveness is not as easy as love. She looked at him, really looked at him. The man who raised her, protected her, loved her, and then failed her. And in that moment, she made another decision. Just like before. She stepped closer and held him tightly. "I never stopped being your daughter," she whispered. His body shook, because that sentence hurt more than anything else. Behind them, a presence shifted. The old man. He had been watching silently. Then he spoke. "You can take her." They both turned, confused and shocked. "But what about marriage?" The old man shook his head slightly. It served its purpose. Their eyes widened, because suddenly, everything felt different. "I made a promise," the old man said calmly, "and I kept it." He looked at her. "And you kept yours." A quiet understanding passed between them. Then,
Without another word, he turned and walked back into the house. The door closed, softly, as if nothing had happened. The father stood still, trying to understand, trying to catch up. But some things are not meant to be fully explained. He turned to his daughter, and this time, he didn't speak. He simply held her hand, and together, they walked away. Not as a man who was saved and a girl who was sacrificed, but as a father and a daughter who both paid a price. And so, my people, we have come to the end of yet another powerful story. If you enjoyed this story, give this video a like, comment what you learnt, and stay tuned for the next.